The question that the document be noted, and I call the member for Riverina.
Well, I'm so very pleased that you're in the chair for my contribution, Deputy Speaker, member for Lingiari, because I have so much respect for you, for the positions that you take, not just on matters pertaining to Aboriginal and Indigenous and Torres Strait Islander people, but indeed all Australians. And I know the importance of having Lingiari as its own electorate, because there was a time in the last term when the Australian Electoral Commission wanted to make the Northern Territory one seat, and indeed even on the AEC's map and website it included the seats of Solomon and Lingiari as one seat, the Northern Territory seat, going forward. And this was something that I spoke up passionately about, wrote an op-ed in the NT News about. I think they ended up running it on the front page as well as inside that day's edition. But it is just not right for people, particularly Aboriginal people, in such a sprawling electorate as Lingiari, one of the largest in Australia, indeed one of the largest political divisions in the world, to be combined with a capital city electorate and then expect people to get representation. And I know you're nodding, and I know you're a good member, and I know that this is important for the Northern Territory. And I'm glad that we've enshrined in legislation the fact that Northern Territory has to have two electorates, because it's too big not to. And I am all for one vote, one value, but even in the AEC's latest New South Wales redistribution, the electorate of Parkes, and the member for Parkes, Mark Colton, has represented that electorate for 17 or so years, since 2007. It is such a massive landmass, and now, well, just from the Riverina electorate, the new Parkes boundaries will take in Bland, centred on West Wyalong, Forbes and Parkes local government areas. And it makes it so difficult for someone to represent the interests. When you consider that some of these city electorates, you could put your handkerchief over them, whereas members for Parkes and Lingiari and, here I say, Riverina and my good friend here, the member for Flynn, we spend much of our time behind the wheel of a car in the passenger seat doing the work that we need to get around our vast electorates, which are equal, if not larger, in size than many European countries. And it's not right. It's not right for the constituents, and particularly in this case, as we're talking on the important issue of closing the gap, it's not fair on those Indigenous Australians who need to see their local member of parliament as much as anyone. It's not fair on the member themselves to try to get around those huge land masses and give the representation required. We are on Ngunnawal and Ngambri territory at the moment, and I do respect that. My Riverina electorate boundaries, as they currently stand, are entirely encompassed by Wiradjuri people, and Wiradjuri is one of the largest nations in Australia, and they are a proud people, good people. And the new electorate will have Narigio, Tumut Tumbarumba, Ngunnawal country, Yass, Murrum Bateman. I respect the fact that the boundaries are changing. The name of the city of Wagga Wagga was derived from the language of the Wiradjuri people. It's the largest Aboriginal nation in New South Wales. Now, the word Wagga Wagga for many years was considered to be place of many crows. The repetition of a word expresses plural or emphasis, but in more recent times they've adopted the word Wagga, W-A-G-A, just one G, means a place to dance and to celebrate, to come together and have those large celebrations. I must say one of the most impressive local events that I ever went to, organised by Joey Williams and a few others, Jeff Simpson, was a corroboree down on the Murrumbidgee riverside. Now, Murrumbidgee is an Aboriginal word meaning deep water, big river, And what the Wagga Wagga City Council has done, in conjunction, I must proudly say, with federal funding, is they have developed the Riverside Precinct and down to the Wiradjuri Reserve to tell the story. You've got a yarning circle. They've got places there where they've got interpretive signage, where our Aboriginal history is laid out, and that is good. That is commendable, because our younger generations need to know that this is so. And in the Wulundri Lagoon Precinct in 2018, there was a Sorry Day Rock unveiled, and that commemorates the children sent to the Cootamundra Girls' Home and the Kinchela Boys' Home, where they were taught farm, labour and domestic work. And 16 years ago, of course, then Prime Minister Kevin Rudd issued the famous apology, sadly necessary, but we need to ensure that this Parliament does everything it can to address the closing the gap issues, and they are particularly, I think, heightened in regional areas, and none more so than in remote areas as far as dental health is concerned, as far as mental health is concerned. It is not right that the health services of Indigenous Australians are lesser than those in metropolitan areas. And if ever we needed to close the gap, it is in those areas: maternal health, all of those areas of health. And look, I know I don't need to tell you, and I'm certainly not trying to, but those people in Tennant Creek and Catherine, Alice, they do it tough. They do. I've visited those areas many times, and certainly I visited. It was quite an eye-opener for my wife Catherine when we visited Tennant Creek, to see or to listen to local people. But we need to do more to address these issues. As long as I've got breath in me, and as long as I'm in this place, I will fight hard for an aquatic centre for Mornington Island. Now, it's in the electorate of Kennedy. It's certainly a long way from the Riverina. I appreciate they say all politics is local, but I visited there. It was one of the last things I did as acting Prime Minister, the golden age of Australian democracy, as I often tongue-in-cheek refer to it as. But when you meet people like Kyle Yanner, the Mayor of Mornington Shire, taking Mornington Island, and when you see that population, 1,200 or so, do not have a swimming pool, do not have an aquatic centre, their island is surrounded by the Torres Straits in the Gulf of Carpentaria. Their island is surrounded by, let's face it, crocodile-infested waters. They are beautiful people. They are a wonderful community. They're doing what they can. They're also a very young community, and yet they don't have a swimming pool. And I think it's incumbent upon this place, and I've urged the Infrastructure Minister, the member for Ballarat, to do what she can. Of course, she needs an application for one of those regional grant programs to build that particular facility. But I will continue to advocate for it, because I promised the Mayor that that is what I would do. I want to see it delivered. And I think if we talk about closing the gap, it's all well and good for us all to get up here and to talk about all those noble gestures and to do the welcomes to country and all that. But it's also, more importantly, about providing real and genuine and tangible help to Indigenous people where they need it most, and that is in the sorts of health services that they need in Forbes and in Cowra, in other places where there is a high proportion of Aboriginal people. It's in those remote communities in far western New South Wales, remote South Australia, your part of the world, Western Australia, your part of the world, Deputy Speaker, I should say, Western Australia, Queensland, in the outreaches of Queensland, and it's about providing the necessary infrastructure in places such as Mornington Island, because it is needed, it is required, it is now expected, because I gave them the word I would do it, and it's also just deserved I mean, why shouldn't they have an aquatic centre? It just makes no sense that they don't. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.